Yo! What's good, man? How y'all doing out there? Yes, sir. We're at the weekend, baby. Let's go. Welcome in, baby. Let's go. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I'm a little late, y'all. My webcam stopped working right before I'm about to go live. I had to troubleshoot the motherfucker. I went through updates, reset. All I had to do was plug the wire back, unplug it, and plug it back in, man. But we're here, baby. Let's go. How y'all doing, man? How y'all doing? How's everybody out there? Oh, man, we got a lot to talk about, man. We have a lot to talk about. Oh, man. Let me make sure I remember everything we got to talk about today. Holy shit. Holy shit, man. Let's get into it. Let's rock out, baby. Welcome to another episode of the Jayson Estrera Show, where we talk about basketball as accurate as possible. Now, like I was just saying, we have a lot to talk about today. We will be talking all about that, and we're going to be talking about some of the matchups that we saw last night, mainly the Memphis Grizzlies and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and also the New York Knicks against the Detroit Pistons. What the fuck is going on to start? What's happening right now, bro? How is this still? But welcome in, man. How you guys doing? Let's start it. Here, let me. What is up with my shit today? Now, I wanted to start today. Let's start it with a little bit of fun. Let's start with a little bit of fun. Let's start with a little bit of fun right now. Now, last night we saw the Minnesota Timberwolves get the big victory against the Memphis Grizzlies, 141-125. But the story of the night is, again, Ja Morant pulling out his brand new grenade celebration that I absolutely love. I love the grenade celebration that he's got, man. I think it's really fun. I think it's cool. But there is something very big when it comes to his actual celebration, right? Let's take a look at it. Where the fuck is it? So he has a new explanation, right? He has a brand new explanation as to what the celebration actually means. And he says, and I quote, "It's not what you think it is. I'm going to take my words, I'm going to throw them out there, and then I'm going to block out the noise." So you're going to throw his words, and then he's going to block out the noise. And listen, man. Listen. All that made me think of was this. Oh, shit. Where's my guy at?
Of hopelessness, he would be truly humble under God. That's what thug means.
So that is what thug means. Truly humble under God. And listen, I can't be mad at Ja. You can't be mad at Ja, man. He gave his explanation as to what his celebration actually means. The same way Young Thug's lawyer said thug means truly humble under God. If you guys, hey, what's good, Bruce? What's good, Bruce? Were you not following The Young Thug case. And that whole 4 minute is a whole thread as to how Young Thug got the inspiration for the name. But I love Young Thug, man. Thug is a legend to me. But thug is not what you think it means. It means truly humble under God. The same way Ja Morant is not throwing a grenade. He's not throwing a grenade, y'all. It came from him himself. He's taking his words. He's going to throw them. And then he's going to block out the noise. Like, come on. This. I know you didn't like the celebration, Bruce, but this is funny. This is funny. I love it. And, credit to Ja Morant, right? Because I was talking about this the other day. Well, Young Thug is out currently. So I don't know what you want to call it from the lawyer, but it worked. It worked. And for Ja Morant, they were very quick when it came to the fine. Right? He's done this for a second game in a row. So if something was going to happen, they would have done it already. They would have fined him again. And I think he's towing the line, but I think he's clear. And I think that's the important part. And the more important part, right, in all of this is, I get that they lost last night, right? But he's been playing really well. Hit the game winner the other night after the controversy. Put up a good 36 against the Minnesota Timberwolves last night, right? So, we could talk about the drama. We could talk about all of these things all we want, but he is performing, right? And at the end of the day, I think that should come above all else, right? Like we've already spoken at length about things he should or shouldn't do, whatever the case might be, right? But he is performing, right? And I think that goes. I think that's above everything else, honestly. Good for Ja. They've been acting inappropriate to him. The NBA owes a lot of apologies to a lot of people. No, that's facts. What's good, Elijah? What's good? How you doing, man? How you doing? But he's been playing ball. He's been playing ball, and unfortunately for them, right? The Minnesota Timberwolves were on fire last night. They were on fire last night. At half, it was 72-67, right? The Grizzlies were up. On the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Minnesota Timberwolves proceeded to put up 52 points in the third quarter. They put up 52 points in the third quarter. At that point, it didn't really matter what the fuck else the Memphis Grizzlies did. And honestly, I'll give them credit. They cut it to 10. They cut it to, I don't remember if they cut it to 8 or not, but they had cut the lead back and were trying to stay within striking distance, even with the 52-27 blowout that took place in the third quarter. And that's something about this Memphis Grizzlies team that I do have to commend is I feel like they've just been a really scrappy team. They fight and claw to get victories, and even if they're down, they're fighting to get back into the game. I mean, in that third quarter in particular, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players scored for the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? Granted, Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle took over. 18 for Anthony Edwards, was perfect from the field, right? Absolutely perfect. 5 of 5 from the field, 3 of 3 from 3, 5 of 5 from the free throw line. So a perfect quarter for Anthony Edwards. And then Julius Randle added in 14. And then when you look on the other side, the Memphis Grizzlies got no production outside of 3 players, which was Jaren Jackson, John Morant, and Scottie Pippen Jr. Everyone else had a donut. And, you're just fighting uphill from there, right? Like their guys came and tried to do the best that they can, and unfortunately in that third quarter, them guys didn't show up. Like we've seen a lot. I remember the Golden State Warriors, right? And this is it's a double-edged sword, because they were so good at third quarters, right? That Golden State Warriors are on their run. They were an unbelievable first quarter and an unbelievable third quarter team, right? And a lot of times they would put games away in the third quarter, which is, I think, what kept someone like Steph Curry from experiencing a lot of those clutch moments early on in his career, even though he's always had clutch in him. But you got to be in those moments time and again to practice it, right, as an individual and as a team. And but as a third quarter team, they were unbelievable. And that's what happened with the Minnesota Timberwolves last night. They just had a third quarter that the Memphis Grizzlies could not come back from. Now, here's the thing that I've noticed, right, about the Minnesota Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards in particular. Anthony Edwards isn't a very good fourth quarter player. He's not a very good fourth quarter player. And granted, the game was pretty much out of reach in the fourth quarter last night, even with Memphis trying to make a run. But in the first quarter last night, Anthony Edwards had 13. In the second, he had 13. And in the third, he had 18. I think Anthony Edwards averages like 6 points per game in the fourth quarter out of the 27 that he's averaging, right? So that means you're getting your 21, 22 points in the other three quarters, right? And just for whatever reason in the fourth quarter, he can't get off, right? And I think there's a couple reasons for that, right? I think number one, he tries to take the same shots that he takes in the first, second, and third quarter, right? Some of those 3-point shots, some of those shots in one-on-one scenarios that he'll take through the first three quarters, he'll continue to take in the fourth. And especially if you've been going in those first three quarters, if you're him, you need to be able to know you need to be able to expect how they're going to defend you in the fourth quarter and do something else. Right? If he wants to take a bunch of jump shots through the first, second, and third, then they as a team and him as an individual need to make the adjustment to have him going more downhill in the fourth quarter and then taking those longer jumpers as, towards the end of the quarter. Because the thing too is, he gets some tired legs, right? And I know he's in shape. I know he's a physical specimen, but I think that's something that we started seeing when it came to James Harden after a while, right? People were like, why isn't he so clutch by the time the playoffs or the fourth quarter comes around? I think the guy was just gassed. You're taking a bunch of step back threes from 30 feet away, pull up fades, and then you're also going to try to get your paint touches and so on and so forth. And then if you're Anthony Edwards, you're also guarding their better wing their better wing players on the other side. Like, you get tired going into the fourth, right? And so they have to figure a way as a team to get him, I think, going downhill in fourth quarters, especially at the start. Because what that'll do is it'll get his shot and his rhythm going. But they also could potentially get the other team in foul trouble early in the fourth quarter, which can now when he's doing a step back and this guy is giving him a little bit more room because of the foul situation, some of those step backs are going to be a little bit easier. Some of his drives are going to be a little bit easier if they can get him going downhill, potentially drawing fouls. And I think it'll just make fourth quarters a lot more efficient for him. Like I said, he takes a lot of the same shots that he'll take throughout the game, and it's just not working. In shape versus superstar making a championship run in shape is different. Look at Steph, Jokic, Bron, etc. That is 100% true, right? Anthony Edwards has that, has that physique and like that he could just play the whole game. But we saw even last year, right? What game was that against the Nuggets? What game was that where he looked gassed? He visibly looked gassed, right? And so if you're a player like him, you guys have to, the team has to figure that out. But I think if they can sort of adjust that style of play and have him getting more points in the fourth quarter, I think it'll do really well for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And the big thing about their matchup last night, right, is they could be looking at a play-in tournament game between those two teams, right? So right now, it's the Minnesota Timberwolves in the 8th seed and the Grizzlies in the 7th seed, and it puts the Golden State Warriors back in the 6th seed in a potential matchup with the Lakers. So, that was a game last night that was very big for Memphis, right? It was a big loss that they had because they could have tried to set themselves up to be in a bit more of a comfortable spot, but, you don't pull out games like that. It makes it really difficult. I still believe guys like Ja and Luka still have to get that. Still have to get what? What you mean? Get what exactly? Like the in shape? But that was a fun game, man. That was a fun game. They're going back and forth until, like I said, that third quarter. Third quarters are so important in the NBA. People talk a lot about the fourth quarter a lot, the last 5 minutes of the fourth. I think obviously the end of the fourth, but the beginning of the second half is also some of the most important minutes you're going to have in a game, right? It shows which team is able to adjust. It shows which team is able to execute. But, hey, man, it is what it is. Better conditioning or physicality through getting a tad stronger. And that comes with, experience too, right? Like, Anthony Edwards was talking last year about having an idea of what type of condition that he needs to be in after making that run into the playoffs, right? So some of it is also just experience. I'm sure a lot of these guys, they probably feel tired, but until you get there, you're like, oh, I'll be fine. Everybody thinks they're invincible until they hit a wall, right? And I think that comes with experience, right? I think Luka's been there a couple of times. Even though we've talked about getting in better shape, being in better condition, but I think he understands how to sort of get there, right? And I think him being in better shape would just make it a little bit easier on him and his body. But I think he has an idea of that already. Luka's mentality and then conditioning to keep going and doing more, sliding feet, rebounding, winning plays, etc. Yeah, 100%, right? It's about a lot of the little things, right? It's about a lot of the little things. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up when it comes to Anthony Edwards, right? And we've talked a lot about coaching and management a lot lately because Lou Williams was talking about Anthony Edwards needs to develop his post game, right? We've seen what some players say about coaches, the fact that they try to encourage these 3-point shots a lot, right? We've talked about how that's probably what's going on with Anthony Edwards. Jeff Teague talking about in 2017 or 18 was when, they were telling him already to stop shooting mid-range shots and to stop shooting threes when he was on the Timberwolves. So I would imagine it's a lot of the same. And my question is, Anthony Edwards could add a post game. Are the coaches going to implement it? Right? It's a two-part thing where are they gonna get on him every single day when he's posting up and hitting and taking those mid-range shots, or are they gonna implement it into their game? Guys could practice stuff like this all they want, but whether they get to actually use it is a whole different thing. Ant like Steph or Jason is just a tad bigger, stronger, faster each year. But Any is pretty close. But Ant is pretty closed. Ja gets beat up in the playoffs, so finding ways not to, but not sure I have much suggestion. Yeah, I think like someone like John Morant just has to go through the process. Right? You have to see what these games look like and feel like, and how you can be in better shape, right? What type of shots you're gonna get. A lot of it is going through the actual experience and trying to go into the playoffs, right? That goes a long way, and I think that's the only way he'll figure that out. But he has a game made for the playoffs, right? He takes and hits some big threes, but he lives in the paint. He lives in that mid range. When the game slows down and it gets physical, his ability to get through little cracks and crevices on the floor, his handle, he has a game made for the playoffs. Now, is he going to take some really bad shots? I'm sure of it, right? We've seen some really bad turnovers from him as well, but he's just going to have to get there, and he's going to have to experience that for himself to know what to expect going into next year. But definitely for him, you just kind of pointed it out there, Elijah. His health above anything is going to be what's really important, right? So that's definitely something to look out for. Now, we're going to talk about the Denver Nuggets, because not only is Michael Malone fired, right? But apparently, the Nuggets reportedly began to lose faith in Michael Malone after he gave Russell Westbrook special treatment. All the while, Malone's choice to continue supporting Westbrook, despite the frustration he was causing on and off the floor, ultimately led to a loss of credibility among the team's key players. It was one thing when Malone handled Jokic and Murray with more leniency than the rest of their group, but affording Westbrook that sort of treatment, even with his Hall of Fame resume, wasn't received well by some. At what point is Russell Westbrook not going to be the scapegoat on any of these teams? I mean, this guy was here to be the sixth man. And forgive him for having some big games. I know he makes some bonehead plays and mistakes. It's a part of the Russell Westbrook experience. But forgive him for getting triple doubles off the bench and for outperforming Jamal Murray for most of the season when he's the starter compared to Jamal Murray. My bad for Russell Westbrook. Key players, not the stars, because Jokic, I don't believe that Nikola Jokic has a problem with him. He asked for him, and we've seen them throughout the entire season have this kind of bond, right? And so Jokic is getting special treatment. We know why. Jamal Murray, too, we know why, right? The second best player on the team. Russell Westbrook is not only a Hall of Famer, but what is he known for in the NBA? For working harder than everybody else. He started getting more minutes because he's outworking you guys in practice. And they're mad at that? I'm so lost at how it's Russ's fault. Okay, I thought I was tripping. No, listen, I'm confused just like you are. Who is mad at that? And I hate to bring it up again, right? I hate to pat myself on the shoulder again, but I have to. What I imagine happened is a couple of these guys, they're like, oh, I'm an NBA champion. He's not an NBA champion, but I'm an NBA champion. Like, why are you getting him special treatment because he plays hard in practice? I said earlier in the year, at what point are these guys going to get better around Jokic? At what point are one of these guys going to come out and become an all-star? Because Jokic has never played with an all-star. There's a reason why Jokic's numbers keep going up every year, because he has to. But while his numbers keep going up every year, how about everybody else's? And now you guys are mad that Russell Westbrook came in here on a $4 million contract as a Hall of Famer, working harder than all of you guys at his age. That's what it sounds like to me. Like when you're on a team, right? When you're on a team and there's that one kid that's like, wait, coach, I thought we had to do extra laps. Or I thought we had to do extra push-ups. Or I thought we had to get extra shots up. And then the rest of the team's like, motherfucker, why would you bring that up? Or like you're in the classroom and then there's always that one kid. We're like, well, no. Did you forgot to go over this one question? And then the whole room is like, man, shut the fuck. That's what I'm imagining is happening with Russell Westbrook. Jamal Murray and Jokic, I don't think have a problem with it because I think they're the overachievers. They're not the ones in the back of the classroom fucking around making jokes. They're at the front of the classroom next to Russell Westbrook when they're like, oh shit, I got the answer. Like, how is it the guy was coming in as a sixth man? How is it his fault at every turn? They make it out to be his fault. It is so weird to me. It is so weird to me, man. I am so mind blown that they're trying to again, right, continue this narrative of Russell Westbrook. And we've talked about John Morant, right? Like, there are certain narratives and certain things about you that'll follow you, right? And regardless of what Russell Westbrook has done, he unfortunately has always had this following him. Like, he averaged a triple-double in the Washington Wizards pretty much, right? Or he did, and nobody ever talks about that. They were talking about how he was overstepping Bradley Beal, but whenever Bradley Beal spoke about him, he would light up and just say nothing but positive things about Russell Westbrook. And still they continue to push this narrative. D-Rose didn't get one. We need to ensure Russ does. I hope he leaves and goes to the Celtics or Cavs or something. Listen, man, $4 million, and I think that's a part of this, right? That's the other part that we just don't see, I guess, right? And this might be why some guys had an issue with Michael Malone, because we're paying Aaron Gordon like $40-something million. We're paying so and so $25-30 million. We just drafted homeboy. I drafted him. We need to see what he does. And Michael Malone's like, Russ, come in. like what? Man, this is mind blowing to me. It's mind blowing to me. And if you go back and watch that missed layup that he had a couple weeks ago or a week or two ago, you could kind of see some of the guys that may not be too happy about Russell Westbrook, right? And I get that he's the guy, right? When sometimes, like when somebody comes in, right? Every single day, everyone is not trying to practice, right? When you come into practice, let's call it what it is, right? A lot of guys don't want to go hard. They're just trying to go through their shit. They're trying to work on something that they've been practicing. They're just trying to go through the motions, right? And I can guarantee you Russell Westbrook don't let that shit happen. Like, I can promise you, every single day he comes in, he said, hey, motherfucker, what's up? Every day. And, hey, man, some guys just can't take that shit. Some guys just can't take it, man, and they got to push this little fucking narrative. He's a coach's dream. He's a coach's dream. You know what? Crazy. He does what fans ask. I want coaches to play who deserve to pay, not a guy with the certain contracts or bigger names. But and I was talking to my girl about this, right? Because you're right, Elijah, right? We want the guys that deserve to. We want guys that deserve to play who are playing well to play. But unfortunately, that is the reality of sports, not just in the NBA, I don't think. Right? When teams are investing X amount of dollars into so-and-so, that right there sets the pecking order. Right? And so we've heard numerous players talk about this, right? Guys not getting a certain shine because of X. There's on the Lou Will podcast, he talked about he was killing on the 76ers, right? He was averaging like 23, 24 a game. Gets hurt. So they brought Allen Iverson in. They brought Allen Iverson back. And he had to have a conversation. I don't remember. I think it might have been Doug Collins. I don't remember who it was exactly. But he had a conversation and they basically said, hey, we don't think it would be right to bring Allen Iverson off of the bench in the Philadelphia 76ers organization. And so the guy that was supposed to be the all-star coming back off of injury, instead of having him come back into the fold, he had to go and take a step back. It's just the reality. You know, people talk about the business of basketball. That's a part of it, unfortunately, right? And it's one of those things that we don't consciously think about, because when we watch games, we are watching 2.5 hours out of their day. We don't get to see all of the meetings, the conversations that they've had, players to coaches, players to management to own. Like, we're not privy to that information. We just get to see, boom, this is what we're going to show you guys, but we don't get to see all of the other things behind the scenes that impact what happens in those 2.5 hours on the basketball court. So this is a part of what's going on. There was also apparently a problem between Michael Malone and Calvin Booth, right? And Russell Westbrook, I think, was a part of that conversation as well too. So it's just unfortunate all the way around, right? It's just unfortunate all the way around. But I think when you get braced with the information, you're able to watch with a certain type of lens. So, when people don't have the best games, it's not just as simple as, oh shit, you were missing, right? So much could go into that day that could impact how that person is playing. But it's always good to keep that in mind. Now, the other day when they played, they look very different when they played the Sacramento Kings, right? They finally stopped their 4-game losing streak. And 4 guys were in 20-plus points that night. Right now, I don't know if this is exactly what they were kind of looking for. Every one of those players played 30-plus minutes. Russell Westbrook played 16. Jalen Pickett was the guy that closed the game out. And so I don't know if this is exactly what they were trying to get out of this situation. The ball wasn't exclusively in Nikola Jokic's hand. Aaron Gordon was seeing a lot more. One-on-one scenarios and with the freedom to make plays. DeAndre Jordan was seeing more ticks. So something to watch is how the Denver Nuggets play moving forward. It does, and it sucks because the business of basketball even gets to spaces it doesn't belong, like amateur and youth sports. Facts, but it's also good because it teaches you how to deal with these things in the real world. Sacktown a sleeper? I mean, listen, man. If DeMar and Zach are going off, they could win on pretty much any given night. But I just don't love the way that they played. I will say there were moments, right? You should go back and watch that Nuggets Sacramento Kings game, because there were moments in that game where the Denver Nuggets looked like they teleported to like 1981, where they had pretty much they had 4 out of their 5 players in the paint. They were doing fucking little short passes in the paint already, little shortcuts. It was very different. It was very different. It was very different. So definitely have to watch the Denver Nuggets and how they play, because they still have the best player in the world, right? So, they can still make a run. Not that I think they're going to make it to the finals, but they can still make a run and make it difficult on guys. So we got to watch out for them, especially if they're playing differently. Not sure they'll make crazy noise, but I can see them looking better if they make the playoffs due to so many closers as in Monk, Bonus, Debo, and Zach. Sacktown sleeper, they done. Firing Mike Brown, wanting to hold the players accountable was crazy. No, that's facts, and that's 2 guys, right? Because Michael Malone was talking about guys aren't watching film, guys aren't doing this. So, the business of basketball, I think this year has really taken center stage, right? It's really taken center stage. It's really impacted the way a lot of things are going in the league. And honestly, like, I'll be honest with you, I don't love the way the Sacramento Kings are built, man. Like, I don't love the way these guys are built. They have good pieces, right? They have good talented players, but I just don't think they go together. You have 2 one-on-one dominant players in DeMar and Zach, and you have Domantas Sabonis, who wants to do what the fuck Jimmy Butler's doing on the Warriors right now, just fucking play hot potato and pass the ball around. So it's just not an ideal thing. I agree. Mike Brown getting fired is crazy. Moral of the story: don't win Coach of the Year unless you guys actually have a chance of winning the championship, right? Unless you guys have a chance of winning the championship. And it's funny you bring that up, right? Because I was watching on a Jeff Teague podcast the other day. He was talking about how the Hawks owner and him were having a conversation, and the owner said, I'm not really a basketball guy. My kids just really love basketball. And I think that shows you why certain teams are ran the way that they are. Right? One, if they're not a sports or a basketball person, right, then this is just a business for them. This is just another massive storefront for them. And so the decisions and the moves that they make aren't going to be based in basketball, especially if their goal is to run a business and not to put basketball minds in place to make basketball decisions. Right? Mark Cuban talked about being the majority owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and he never made a profit. And so, again, another peek behind the blinders as to what goes on in these games that, again, we're not privy to, because we're looking at it as sports. We're looking at it as competition. And the owner could be looking at it, well, if I could be middle of the pack towards the bottom of the league and I make the same profit year in and year out, why would I invest more to maybe become a top 4 team in my conference? And to a lot of them who are businessmen, that's not a good trade-off. They want to keep their profits. Right? Like I was listening to I forget who I was listening to, but he was talking about if he were an owner, he would, you're already spending 20, 30, 40 million dollars on this player, right? However much on the contract of your 12-man roster. What's another $1 to $2 million to you if you could put that money towards their problems, their baby mama, their mom got this got that, whatever issues that they have? As the owner, let me take it away so you could just focus on the game and be your best every single day. And that sounds nice in theory, but you're talking about billionaires that don't even spend money on designer clothes. To spend an additional 1 to 2, however many million dollars to take care of your players more than their contract, they're not willing to spend that. Right? That's how they're able to keep their wealth. And so, the business of basketball a lot of times can get in the way of basketball. And that's why you've heard over the years, some players have tried to say it, right? There's only 6, maybe 8 teams in the whole NBA that's genuinely looking to win a championship year in and year out. And there's a reason why a certain team will be in that stretch 4 to 6 times in a decade. It's why the same couple of teams win championships year in and year out for a decade. You can spot when a team gets in there that they're not supposed to. Detroit Pistons back then, right? The Milwaukee Bucks and the Denver Nuggets snuck one in. And so, those are things to always consider. But, speaking of the business of basketball, right, something that we'll probably never get the answer to, we got to talk about this because Luka Magic made his way back to Dallas on Wednesday night, right? And it was super emotional, right? They made the man cry. like they straight up made my boy cry. And god damn it, I feel like they did that shit on purpose, man. Even with all the emotions, right? Luka had 45 on the Dallas Mavericks. 16 of 28 from the field, 7 of 10 from 3 for 45 points in 38 minutes of play. And that man for sure wanted to stay in Dallas for the rest of his career. Like, some people are like, I seen some people like, why is he crying? Because, bro, like, he feels like he got rejected. And, as we've talked about it, he's gotten a lot of credit. He was Luka Magic in his first year of the league. And it was well-deserved. But all the accolades started showing up. And I'm not saying it got to his head, but being in a place where you want to be and them telling you they don't want you had to really hurt. And so it explains why he felt the way that he felt. And on top of that, you had an 18-year-old that grew up there, that made friends in that organization, not just the players, but in that organization that helped him grow, that saw him grow. So that's where all the emotions came from. Don't be fooled. Those were tears for Dallas' sake, for what he was about to do to him. He knew he was going to commit unspeakable actions, and the 40 confirmed his feelings were correct. Listen. I watched this game very closely. And I'm not saying that Jason Kidd threw the game. But Luka didn't see a double team until 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in the second quarter. He pretty much had 30 already. If y'all saw in the first, what's the one thing that you can't do with Luka? One, you can't consistently leave him in one-on-one situations, right? And the second, you damn sure can't leave him in one-on-one situations with centers, with bigs. And they had Derek Lively playing one-on-one with that man through like the first couple minutes of the game. And not once did they throw a second player at him. By the time Anthony Edwards got to him, it was already it was barbecue chicken. Now, if anyone were to kind of understand what Luka was going through, it would be Jason Kidd, who was there all the time and was also a former player. It almost looked like an alley-oop. He's like, come on, go get hot first, and then we'll take care of it. And to his point at the end of that game, he was saying Luka was going off and we were still in the game, which was true, right? It was very true. They were still in the game even with Luka going off. Maybe that was their plan, right? This is a Lakers team on a second night of a back-to-back, so maybe that was his plan going into it, but it really kind of felt like an alley-oop for Luka. And then when you look on the other side, they wouldn't let Anthony Edwards catch the ball without seeing two people. At no point in that game did Anthony Davis catch the ball comfortably. Every single time there were two people on him. So it was just a very stark comparison between how the Lakers decided to guard AD and how the Mavericks decided to guard Luka. And Luka made them pay. Luka made them pay for sure. And to me, no one summed it up better than what Kendrick Perkins said that night. He said that night was when Luka Doncic became a Laker. Because this was a place he didn't want to be necessarily. This was a place that he didn't plan on being. And I'm sure a lot of it was still in shock up until he came out of the opposite locker room in Dallas, right? And at the very end, Kendrick Perkins pointed out that Luka said it's time to move on. And you have a team that embraces you with open arms after the traumatic experience that he just got. And you get to have that performance on that night. I mean, it was special. It was special, and you can't see that, and you just immediately go back to what this trade was, right? And like I said, the numbers look insane between Luka and Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis was double teamed the entire game, and they weren't gonna let him get more than 15 points, and he had 13, and so it was a setup, man. It was a setup, but I think moving forward, I think this is just a sign for the rest of the league, right? Like, you cannot leave Luka Doncic in one-on-one scenarios in the playoffs. Like, he's the only other time that happened, he had 73 on the Atlanta Hawks, right? So I don't know about you guys. It really blew my mind that they sent no double teams to him. Pretty much all of the first half, and for most of the second half, he was still seeing a lot of single coverage. He was walking to the rim with Lively at his hip. I mean, with a guy that good, you just can't let that happen. That's why it looked away. But a big game for them, man. A big game, a very massive game, and you know we got to see how the Lakers perform in the playoffs, right? Luka has unbelievable numbers in the playoffs, and I don't expect it to be any different. LeBron has unbelievable numbers in the playoffs too. It really comes down to, how is Austin Reeves going to play? What's Jackson Hayes going to give you? Is Dorian Finney-Smith going to hit those shots? Gabe Vincent, so on and so forth, right? So these are the things that they're just going to have to answer, and we have to see. But I like their chances in the West, man. I like their chances in the West, and they got a cold-blooded killer in Luka. That guy is cold-blooded. I don't give a fuck what you say. That's why you can't leave him in single coverage, man. Now, I don't want to talk about this, bro. I don't want to talk about this, man. Austin Reeves finna switch him down. Hey, if he keep playing how he plays, shit. Like, if Austin Reeves keeps doing what he's doing, it's going to be a real problem. Because they are going to be so hard to stop. Because like I said, you know what you're going to get out of Luka. You know what you're going to get out of Bron. Now they're both on the same court, able to relieve pressure off of each other. If Austin Reeves keeps doing what he does, and he's, to me, is a very confident player, so I don't expect him to not perform. But that's a real scary trio, man. That's a real scary trio. My Knicks aren't having a good week, y'all. Excuse me. Cade had 36 on us, bro. I mean, like, what the fuck do I do with that? And I know, us Knicks fans are gonna be like, oh, OG didn't play, Josh Hart didn't play, yada yada yada. You know, Jalen Brunson is still coming back from the injury. We're about to play these fuckers, man. Like, we're about to play them in the playoffs. There is no way in hell I want to give you a win, and we're about to start a 7-game series in 2 weeks. There's just no fucking way. And like I said, I don't expect us to lose to the Detroit Pistons, man. Like, I really, really don't. But something has to change with the New York Knicks. With the way the team is presently constructed, I think we need to make a little bit of a switch. I get that Mikal Bridges had a solid game last night. 17-7 with 2 steals and a block. 7 of 10 from the field. 1 of 2 from 3. 2 of 2 from the line. Really solid game. I think he needs to come off the bench. I think he needs to come off the bench and you start Precious Achiuwa. I genuinely. I think that's what needs to happen. You bring Precious Achiuwa off the bench and you let Mikal Bridges go off with the second unit. Because he looks really uncomfortable on the floor more often than not. And I would want him to be essentially the primary ball handler. I think he was solid as that on the Nets. And I think you need to be able to give him space to operate. I think him coming off the bench would probably be the best thing that they could do. I'm not going to lie. Are these 30-point triple-doubles the same 30-point triple-doubles as yesterday? I saw Josh Giddey put up a couple crazy stats. I was like, I get what you're saying, but, you know, a triple-double is still a triple-double. Right? You know, when you kick it out, back then guys are getting layups on passes versus now you're depending on a guy to hit some 3-point shots, right? And you know, people are hot and cold day in and day out in the NBA, right? That's not a guaranteed. So you got to be hitting guys in the right spots where they like to shoot their shots still. But I don't think it's exactly the same. Right, it's not exactly the same. Jalen Duren almost had, he had a big double on us yesterday. But you know, it's not quite the same. But I think the Knicks need to go with the lineup of Brunson, Hart, OG, Precious Achiuwa, and Karl Anthony Towns. And then off the bench, you bring up Deuce, Mikal, PJ Tucker, Landry Shamet, and Mitchell Robinson. That would be my rotation. And then you can always have Mikal Bridges closing out games with the starting unit if you want to. But I think they need to put some toughness in the starting lineup with Precious Achiuwa, right? It lets Karl Anthony Towns roam the 3-point line on offense, because Precious Achiuwa could play your baselines. He could play in the dunker. He could cut from the 3-point line. He's a solid cutter. And then on defense, he can help out a lot, because Mikal Bridges is not the same defender. I'm seeing guys muscle him a lot in a lot of nights, right? I know he still had his block and 2 steals last night, but I'm seeing him get bodied in a lot of these situations. Guys just have to get to his chest, and he has to depend on his length to try to stop these plays, and he's just gonna have a hard time. I think if we need a punch off the bench, right? Deuce McBride can provide that sometimes, but I think if you have him and Mikal doing stuff, PJ Tucker is your corner 3-point shooter. Landry Shamet was solid last night. I mean, I think that's a much better mix instead of Mikal, Cat, Brunson, OG, and Josh Hart, right? And just throwing all of your best shit first. I'm not saying Mikal won't be a big part. I think he needs to be the 6th man on this team right now. Come off the bench and just cook the second unit, and really provide a spark, because the Detroit Pistons, for example, they're going to throw bodies at you. I mean, who the fuck do we have, though, Bruce? Like, I hate that they like to play Deuce McBride and Jalen Brunson together. Coming off the bench, they'll play Deuce McBride and Cameron Payne. Like, you need to offset some of this. I know that right now PJ Tucker looks like Raymond Felton. But, like, we need to do something else, right? We need to do something else right now. I just don't think our rotations are working. And like I said, you got the Detroit Pistons who are going to throw bodies at you, right? They have so many players that they can play. Like last night, only Cade Cunningham's the only player that played 30-plus minutes. Everyone else played under 30 minutes. Listen, dog, I don't know who the fuck else you think is about to come play for the New York Knicks. No one else is about to spawn in. That's all we got, bro. That's all we got. That's all we got, bro. I never mentioned PJ name again. I watch him on Philly. I'm not even a Philly fan. He made me crash out. Full lock on PJ Tucker at Postman. That's pretty hard to do. Listen, bro, we got nothing else. We got who you gonna play from this? Pick a name right now. Who you gonna play? Who else is playing on this right now? Ain't a fucking soul. There is no other 3-man we got. No one else. At least PJ gonna try to hurt somebody. He gonna hit a 3 and try to get a flagrant foul. I'll take that. Cause shit, who the fuck else we gonna play at the 3? We need somebody else out there. Y'all about to make me crash out, man. Cause I swear to God, these motherfuckers better not lose to no fucking Detroit Pistons, bro. I'ma crash the fuck out, man. I'ma crash out. For real, bro. For real. I'ma crash out on them boys. Cause there's no fucking way. Before I get out of here. You guys seen what Obi Toppin did last night? You guys seen that shit? We don't really got to go over the game, man, because the Pacers barely beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland didn't play, right? So there's not really much to take away from this other than how you got to beat them by more than 2 points if you're Indiana. But did you guys see this shit?
Turner with the block shot. The other way, top.
Oh!
Block shot. Here is Craig Porter through the traffic into the hole. Turner with the block shot. The other way, top.
Wow! Let's go! Let's go. That was fire. That was fire, man. Hey, man, I'm hype. You already lost. Hey, man, Bruce, that ain't right, man. Should I play Tiz before Anthony Leon? Is Schroeder going to stand on Brunson again? Yo, you know what's crazy? After all of the trades that Dennis Schroeder went on, he ended up on the best team out of all of them, which is the Detroit Pistons, man. Like, dog, we could use Dennis Schroeder right now in the Knicks. Like, for fuck's sake, man. We could use a Dennis Schroeder right now. Like, golly, man. I'm not super excited about this, bro. I'm really not. Like, I'm just not. I'm excited for the playoffs. I'm not excited for what's about to happen with the Knicks, man. This is not a vibe. This is not a vibe. Them boys better get to the second round and play the Boston Celtics, because I'm going to crash out if they don't, bro. I'm going to crash. You going to see it. You guys seen when Speed jumped on his PC? I'm going to jump in my PC. I'm going to crash the fuck out, bro, because there's just no way. Just no way, man. But let's take a look at what we got tonight. What's the matchups that we got tonight? We got a Cleveland Knicks game. Yeah, this is tonight, right? Hey, sometimes it be like that. I'm sad he not on the Raptors. He screwed him. Yeah, I mean, he's a real solid player. I like Dennis Schroeder. I think he's a real solid player, real underrated. And he ended up in the perfect situation with the Pistons, right? Because, like, on the Warriors, they were trying to play him with Steph. And him and Steph are both small. But with the Detroit Pistons, Cade Cunningham is a bigger point guard. So you can actually play the both of them together. So he could lead the second unit. You could throw him in there with the starters and with Cade Cunningham. It really makes him and that team a lot more versatile, right? Something that, it goes really unnoticed is the fact that he gives them a lot more options, right, when it comes to their lineup, because of his ability to be able to play with Cade and really relieve some of the ball handling from him. But, hey, man, this is a solid Pistons team. They play really physical. I'm worried about how it's going to impact Jalen Brunson coming back from injury, right? They're going to be physical with him. We saw Cade Cunningham. Every time he saw Jalen Brunson, he was trying to isolate him. And that's just the worry that I have, right? So, the playoffs can't get here any sooner. I know we're going to have to watch the play-in next week, but the playoffs can't get in here any sooner, and I'm really excited for that. But, hey, man, that's the way the cookie crumbles. We got to wait and see. But that's going to do it for me for now, man. Thank you guys, as always, for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. Before I get out of here, please like, comment, and subscribe. All that good stuff. It really helps the channel out. But you guys could have been anywhere on the internet, but y'all were here with me. And I appreciate you guys for that. So thank you so much. You guys are the fucking best. Thank you, Elijah. Thank you, Bruce, again. I'll see you guys back here on Monday. Y'all have a great weekend, man. I'll see you guys later. Enjoy some good weather. Get out there. Get a tan. I appreciate y'all. Peace out, man. Have a